almost everything is in place now for this action RPG, whatever genre mishmash we have at this point. That doesn't seem right to be finished up. So I think it's about time we start working on the actual leveling system, which means that we're going to need to do a couple of things for our player object. Because first and foremost, we need to decide how our level up system is going to work. And I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now. We could either have a level up system where we can just level up and we can program in statically which increase corresponds to which level. So if you're like level 15, you get a 2 attack plus. If you're level 18, you get +5 to your defense, which would be a lot. But that would require a lot of manual work in putting in those level rewards, and at the same time really limit a player in spending their earned experience. So what I'm thinking instead is we'll have 3 separate categories. We'll have a HP level, a defense level, and a magic level. So we already have HP and defense programmed in, but we're going to, on top of that, also put in a float for max MP and our float for our current MP, which we'll just call MP. And then we're also going to need to make some integers for HP level, which by default will be equal to 1, MP level, and defense level. Now, for the time being, I'm just going to increase these values, so HP and MP and defense, by a certain percentage for every level we gain. I might end up doing something different there, and these level values are actually going to need to be public. Matter of fact, I think they best be public static, because we'll be influencing these, which will then influence these. We also might need some stats for our base HP, defense, and magic. So let's make our values for base HP, base MP, and base defense. Our base HP will be 50. I don't know what our MP system is going to be like. We're going to have special attacks. We attack with the right mouse button right now. I don't know what it's going to translate to on control yet. I'll figure that out. And then I want to, based on what weapon you're holding, have a special attack for every single different weapon as well, with the right mouse button, which will use your MP value. And maybe at some point I might consider adding some sort of magic spell. Maybe you can use a healing spell. Maybe that won't be an item. Maybe that'll use your MP instead. So you have to balance using your special attack with healing. That actually seems like a pretty good idea. We're probably going to end up doing that. And then your base defense will be... We're going to have to figure this out, because at the moment the formula for calculating damage with defense in mind is literally just damage minus defense, which isn't particularly complicated. Doesn't need to be complicated, but I don't know how well it will scale throughout the game. We're gonna keep it at starting at 4 and just gaining 50% or maybe 25%, something like that, every single level. I'm going to need to rework how defense works to begin with. I'll have to look into how different games deal with damage calculation with defense stats and make my mind up from there, because I've been sitting here for 10 minutes rambling on about defense stats at this point, and I'm supposed to be programming a level up system. Repurpose this set defense function, because we're not using that anymore, and public void set HP level. Probably want to make these static as well, because there's only ever going to be one player here, right? We are not going to worry about co-op. Are we going to worry about co-op and multiplayer? I don't think we are. So we take in for this a integer for the level, and that should be it, actually. Yeah, no, that should be it. I was thinking, do we need any other parameters here? No, we do not. So I've been sat here for half an hour thinking about the best way to build up a formula to calculate this, and then I remembered what I'm doing is practically just compound interest, but with insane interest rates. So I'm just gonna look up a formula for compound interest, and we're gonna use that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our defense to being our base defense multiplied by, and yes, I'm reading this off a website because it's been about 10 or so years since I've done high school math, so I don't remember this off the top of my head. 1 plus our growth rate, which is 0.1 in our case, divided by a variable n, which is the number of times interest applied per time period. This is just 1, so we can leave that away. And then we raise that to the power of nt, but n is just 1, so that gets cancelled out. And t is the period of time elapsed, which is just the amount of iterations. So that should be our level. Of course, we do need to put that all in a math function for power. Kind of forgot about that. So in theory now, and we're going to test this out in Unity itself, print out our defense value every single frame. This kind of makes sense, but static variables don't show up in the editor. So while we're going to set it back to static in a moment, for the purposes of testing this out, we're going to keep this at just a normal public variable, so that we get a defense level option here, which is likely going to throw some errors at level 0. Yeah. Now if we set this to 1, we're still returning 0. Just returning a whole bunch of 0. That's not good. Why does it do that? Because I don't run the set defense level. Yeah, sometimes I'm just an idiot. So let's try that again with the function now actually being run. So now it might start throwing some errors. Actually, it's probably still just going to return. Okay, no errors. That's good. So it's returning 4. Now when we go up to level 1, it turns into 0. That makes sense, actually, because it's increasing by 0.4. Now that should be... Oh, that's not going the way it should be going. Okay, that formula... hello, Mr. Enemy. Formula doesn't work either. Fuck me. Yeah, so the reason that we're doing that, apparently, is because we're multiplying here and we should be adding. So that might be the cause of our problems. So we're at 4 defense. Now we're at 4.4 defense. Now we're at 4.84 defense, which makes sense, yes, because we're compounding. This formula works now, finally. So if you could fuck the hell off, you shouldn't be dealing damage to me anymore, actually. You're not. So this works. And now if we can just murder... Oh, you are dealing damage, I'm just not dying. Wait, I'm not dying? Why am I not dying? Okay, something weird and fucky is going on with my damage and my HP. We'll figure that out in a moment. So we can use this same formula for these others, but instead we'll set our max HP and our max MP with our base HP and our base MP. Now that testing is over, we no longer need this to be non-static, so we can put it back to being static. And we can start working at the actual UI. So we have the normal UI here, which we're not gonna make disappear. Are we gonna make that disappear? I think we're gonna make that disappear. So what we'll do is we'll put this on a panel, which we'll just set to being totally invisible, but this way we just have something to... We probably should do that in the prefab. That's a good point. So this way we just have a simple way to toggle this entire thing on and off again, and then we'll create a new panel which will be our upgrade menu. Okay, so after a little bit of fucking about, let's set this back to 2D so that we can actually see what we're working on. We have a single toggle for our gameplay HUD, and then we also have this upgrade menu in which we're going to put our new stuff. So let's turn this off for the time being, and let's add some buttons. So let's just add a button text mesh pro here. It's gonna be relatively simple UI for the time being. So we're going to have this be more fancy at some point, but we're going to have the level over here, then the button to level up, and then the actual stats over here, rounded to the nearest integer, I think. So this will be our level up HP. The text that's under this will just say level up, and we'll copy that, put one over here, level up MP, and level up defense, which we'll be putting here. And actually I think we might be able to just use... Yeah, we can just put these outside of here. So we can just call this level HP. This is level MP and level for defense. And then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. HP stats, and we'll copy these over to there for defense stats and MP stats. Okay, that is a very clunky and ugly UI, but its functionality is the name of the game at the moment. Okay, I'll make something fancy in Photoshop at some point, but basically this is what we need. So we'll let's make a level button UI script. Our experience also, actually I'm going to change to a static integer. That is just the easiest way, and Most of these things could be static, really. We're going to start off with a serialized field, put them in the square brackets, thank you very much, for our player stats, which we'll call player stats, because I'm original like that. Then we'll get, we're going to be using TM Pro, by the way. We'll create some text mesh pro UGUI for that level, one for stats amount and one for the stat name, which I'm actually all going to serialize as well, because that just seems to be the most reliable way to get these things, I'd say. The stat name, actually we don't really need the stat name, because those things at the moment just say level up. That's all it really needs. So we have stat amount, stat level, and we'll also need a calculation for how much experience we need to level up. Actually, I forgot about that, which we'll also need to showcase. Question is, am I going to do that linearly though, or am I going to do that exponentially as well? I feel that like our growth is exponential. The experience itself should probably be exponential as well. Things to worry about later. I'd like to keep this in one script and make this into a prefab, so don't hard code in which specific variable I'm looking for. The question is, and this is an interesting question, I haven't actually tried this before. So let's make a serialized field for a string and call it stat to find. And if we go, say for instance, our stat level equals to player stat dot stat to find. Will that work? Yeah, I don't think so. The only way that I can think of right now to make this work is putting all these stats in a single array and then just looking at one of the indexes from the array. Because the issue is, if I want to write this script, but I have to be able to access different variables, that's not going to work, obviously. So I'm not going to do that array thing, because that's unintuitive and stupid. So what I'll do instead is I'll make 3 different scripts that do the exact same thing, but just ask for a different variable. Let's just make this get HP. And since that's a static one, we actually can just get it through doing this, I believe. So we can get player stats HP level. And obviously we want to set the text here, so we need to convert that to string, but that's not a problem. And then the stat amount of text will be player stats. I'm guessing we can put this to being static as well. And then we'll also need that for the defense and max MP. Because if we're going to set it to static, probably make it public as well. Max HP to string. Okay, so this level button, we'll call this level button UI scripts HP, which is going to mess some things up because the script is not going to match the class name anymore. And I've had issues with that in the past. There we go, it's starting to complain. Well, that should fix itself relatively quickly. We don't actually need the player stats reference because we're accessing only the static values. We don't need anything to be instant, so that's neat. And then this is the level, and that's the level how much we have, the actual stats. And then if we just like copy the script 2 more times. Now we're going to make a level up UI script, and that's going to be the leveling up of our stats. And actually, I'm not entirely sure. For the time being, we're going to put the enabling and disabling of this UI in this class as well. Eventually, that's probably going to move to the checkpoint class. But for testing purposes, I don't want to have to walk to a checkpoint every single time, obviously. So we don't need a start or an update for this, I don't think. But we will need a public void increase HP. We'll need one for MP and defense as well, obviously. Which should be as easy as player stats dot HP level ++. The XP curve will do at a later date, I think. Mostly because I've already been working for like 2.5 hours on this. Most of that is going to get cut out because it's me fucking about with formulas that didn't end up working. But I kind of want to like finish this up at some point today. So what if I just make these static but not public? That should then make that function work again, right? It does. So we can set all of these now to static and we can access them directly without a reference. So we can set HP level, which fair enough, we don't need that to reference anything anymore. Defense level here, HP level here, MP level there, and set defense level. Bool player in range. If it's a player, our player in range becomes true. Then we can copy this entire thing over real quick, remove all this, change this to untrigger exit, and our player range will be set to false. And then we'll also get a serialized field game object for our UI. Again, we'll make something fancy later. I just want to see whether or not our inputs and our buttons work. So when we walk in here, UI set active will be set to true, and when we walk out, we'll set UI back to full. Then we can put this into there, and now our upgrade menu, okay, it's visible by default, but now if we leave this, it should be invisible. We'll walk back in, it's visible again. We don't have an on-click event set for it yet. That's fair enough. And we also, again, we need to enable pause functionality and stuff for that. That's for a later date. We're working on functionality here, first and foremost. Now, these buttons need on-click event, so we'll add for each one of these a click event, and we'll get them from the upgrade menu script, which is the Levelup UI. Yeah, that makes sense. And then this first one is going to be Levelup UI increase HP, second one increase MP, and then the last one is obviously going to be increase defense. So if we press this, these buttons don't work still. Why don't they work? So it seems like we don't have an event system in here, which is required. I don't know if it should be under my UI or not, but hey, my buttons are working now, so that's fantastic. And it seems like I need to put the rounding in, but that's just a matter of math capital dot round. Actually, that needs to go in before capital R, another comma. I did everything wrong I could conceivably do wrong there, but now we can see we're increasing our HP, which we need to redo the code for that as well. We're increasing our MP, we're increasing our defense, which is taking a little longer, but that definitely should be the case. Now let's put these back under the upgrade menu, because that clearly wasn't the issue, and let's put the event system in the actual HUD itself in the prefab. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be too interesting to watch me clean up a lot of code here and make this like only pop up when you get in here and when you press a certain button and stuff like that. Make the game pause when that happens. So I'll do a lot of that off screen, and next time when we come back, we'll start with a save system.